So many cool friends here. Thank you all for joining us here today. So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this virtual field farm trip. My name is Clancy Cron, and I'm the 2023 Oregon Dairy Princess Ambassador. I am so excited to be with you all here today on this very special day. It is World Milk Day, and we have this special opportunity to celebrate by learning about some dairy farms at the Oregon State University in Corvallis. To ensure a good experience for everyone for today's tour, we've muted all participants, and everyone will remain muted throughout the tour so we can hear our tour guide very clearly. And, oh, sorry, you guys, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't muted. Throughout the tour, please send your questions to us using the chat. We will get as many questions as we can. It is now my pleasure to introduce our host and tour guide for today's virtual field trip, Larissa Lewis. Larissa is the manager at the OSU Dairy Farm, and we are excited to learn more about the farm today. So take it away, Larissa.
All righty. Thank you, Ms. Cron. Hello, everybody. So we are here today at the OSU Dairy. So you guys are going to follow me around the farm a little bit, and we're going to look at all ages, starting from newborn all the way through the life of the cow. So let's get started. All righty. So we have about 120 milking cows at the dairy, and we have about 100 heifers. So a heifer, just a female young animal. So these are all of our babies here in the calf area. And so they're all housed individually in order to keep them healthy and safe. And that way we can monitor it, milk through bottles like this. And so each calf gets a gallon a day. So this is 2 quarts twice a day when they're first born, or they can also move up to 3 quarts twice a day, which is a gallon and a half. And then our oldest babies are fed ad lib. So that means that these babies are free-fed milk twice a day. So we give them the milk in this big barrel, and they just drink as much as they want until they're full. So all the tan calves you see are called jerseys, and those are a breed that has really high components in their milk. So that means that they have high fat and high protein, which is really good for making products like cheese, ice cream, cream, butter, and all those yummy things that you guys like to eat every day. So they produce a little bit less than your black and white cows that you're used to seeing, but they're extra creamy, yummy milk. So the black and white ones are producing closer to 60 to 80 pounds a day, and these girls are producing about 50 with a 5% fat. So these girls are given milk twice a day, and they also get grain free-fed. So this is really yummy, high protein feed that helps their stomachs develop, and they grow big and strong. And so that way, when they come off the milk, they're ready to eat solid food. So you guys can see over here how they drink off of the bottles. We got a little baby moon in the background. All right, so those are the calves. Do we have any questions about babies?
It looks like we do have a few questions, Larissa. So the first one is, do you only raise cows on the dairy?
Yes, so all of our females, they are born at the farm and they're raised at the farm. So the males, we just sell to local farmers in the area that raise them on their own family farms.
Awesome.
So we just have females here because it's only females that produce milk.
Awesome. And then the next question is, how much do you feed the calves?
Yep, so they are getting a gallon a day when they're first born, and then they move up to a gallon and a half. And then when they're about a month and a half old, they're free-fed milk twice a day. So they drink as much as they want. So sometimes they'll drink up to 2 to 3 gallons a day. So when you think about how much a cow produces about 6 gallons a day on the farm. That means about 1 to 3 of those gallons will go to the baby. And then the rest of that goes to human consumption. So there's extra milk provided, and that's not being used for anything. So we use it as humans to help upscale some food and protein for the human industry that would have never been used on dairy. So the calf does not have milk removed from their diet for humans. There's just excess milk.
Awesome. And then we have a few more. Do you make any products out of the milk?
Yes, so OSU makes beaver cheese. So these cows are producing milk that goes to our creamery on campus, and that goes to make specialty cheeses. They have lots of different flavors, and then they are also starting to make ice cream as well. And they're getting their creamery expanded too over the next couple of years, and they're going to start taking more.
Awesome. And then we'll ask one more. How many gallons of milk do you get in a year?
How many gallons of milk in a year? Oh boy, I'd have to calculate that one.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Larissa.
All righty, so out here we have our heifers out on pasture. So once they reach about 6 months old, then they can go out on pasture. And so they are out anywhere from April through October. And we do a rotation grazing. So they go in different plots and eat all the grass down. And then they'll go into a next plot. So that way they're not overeating a certain area. So these girls are outside as long as weather permits. If it's too muddy and too dirty, we'd rather keep them clean and safe inside the barn. All righty, and then as the heifers grow up, just a reminder, heifers are young cows. So that's what that means. And so as they grow up, then they're going to come through the barn, and they have their first baby around 2 years old. Are all of our milk cows on this side. So these girls are all eating a diet called the total mixed ration. Have a lot of and that are balanced by a nutritionist. So they get lots of extra protein and energy to be able to maintain their body and all that heavy milk production. So they're pretty sweet girls, and they're friendly here on the farm. You can see how big their heads are next to me. Yep. Hello. Okay, so the cows have little ankle bracelets, and those are called pedometers. And so those are basically little Fitbits. And so that means that we can track their activity. And so if a cow were to reduce their activity, if they weren't feeling well, we could catch that really early. And if they had increased activity, then we could see that also. So when cows go out to a far out pasture, they have higher activity. And then when they're inside the barn, they'll have some lower activity. So behind me, we have some of their feed choices here. All right, so that TMR that I just showed you guys is all of these little ingredients mixed up. So we have our soybean meal here. So this is a yummy additive to their feed that's high in protein. And then this is rolled corn. So this is a grain that is really high in energy. So this is really good for milk production. And that also happens to be their favorite food. And then we also have silage. So this is corn silage, and we also make grass silage. And so this is harvested from our pastures, and we can store it in these big tubes. And basically what those tubes do is that there's a bunch of little bugs that break, and it also keeps moisture. So it's nice, wet feed that is easy for them to eat. So a cow also has microbes or little bugs in their stomach, and those little bugs help break down the feed as well. So humans can't eat grass or hay like alfalfa. So this is alfalfa, but cows can eat that because they have a bunch of little bugs working for them in order to help break that down. So they can eat a lot of different foods that humans couldn't eat. And those all get mixed up in their feed. We also have, the cows get fed salt and minerals. So humans tend to overeat salt, right? We eat a little too much, but cows are not like that. They only eat as much salt as they need. So we can just free feed them salt, and they only eat as much as they need for their bodies. And they also get minerals as well. Just like taking your vitamins.
Larissa, it looks like we have a few questions.
Absolutely.
So the first one is Sam Chase Cubs wants to know, how old do the cows get?
How old do the cows get? Let's see. They can get typically around 10 or 12 years old is when they start getting a little on the old side. We have cows here that are in their 8th lactation. So that means they've had 8 babies.
Wow. And then another question kind of on that same train, how big can the cows grow to be?
Oh, good question. So we have jerseys. So jerseys are a little bit smaller. There can be about 1,000 pounds. So they're pretty big girls, but the big black and white ones that you guys are used to seeing, those can get up to 1,600 pounds or even bigger. So those ones are, stay on a little heavier side. So these girls happen to be really, really good for grazing because they're a little bit smaller.
Awesome. And then just a few more questions. Do their heads ever get stuck in the bars?
So sometimes we lock the headlocks like they are right now. So the cows aren't leaving the stanchions. And that is because we can give them any treatments or vaccines. Like when you guys go to the doctor and get vaccines, these girls also get some. So that's how we're able to give them their medicine and check them and give them anything extra that they need that they don't understand why we're doing it. So that's a good way for us to just have them in for a minute, and then they can go back out and eat and sleep and get milked and do whatever they want the rest of the day.
Awesome. And then last question for right now. So the Oak Grove students want to know, what are the tags in their ears for?
Yeah, so the tags in their ears are their identification. So all these girls, like this one here, she's number 11. And so that's how we can track all of her information and life history in our online computer system. And then they also all have names. So this here is Dakota.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, let's move towards the parlor. So this is the way the cows would go to get milked. So you guys are gonna follow me. We're gonna All righty. So in here today with us, we have Mia and Ava and Sarai. So they're going to show you guys how all of the, oh, this is just a silk that goes on. And then that will get wiped off with a towel. And then after that gets wiped off, then we will strip or milk out each quarter. So each cow has 4 quarters. And so each of those quarters is different. And so you guys can see, oh, freezing up a little bit to make sure they're nice and clean. And then you can see the milk come out. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'll show you. So we're gonna get milk out of 4 quarters. And then you guys can see in the jar, we have our milk. So this is what you guys would drink out of. We're gonna, first though, this goes through a processing plant. So before it goes into the processing plant, we are going to store the milk for 1 to 2 days until the milk truck comes to pick up. All right, so this is our storage tank right here. So this is gonna stay at about 37 degrees, which is similar to the temperature of your refrigerator. And then we will get picked up by the processing plant. And then the processing plant will basically pasteurize, which basically means to sterilize the milk before it goes into the market.
Larissa, we have a really quick question about the tank. How many gallons can that tank hold itself?
That tank can hold, so we milk about 50,000 pounds in a day. And so that tank will pick up that amount every other day, basically.
Awesome, thank you.
I don't know how to convert that into gallons off the top of my head. When we are at the dairy, we measure everything in pounds. All right, so behind me, you guys can see all of the milk cows. So they are outside grazing right now. So they are also grazing April through November. And it's nice out. And so they're enjoying themselves out on pasture until they get milked for about 10 minutes this afternoon at 4 o'clock. So they get milked at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. And it usually only takes about 10 minutes to milk a cow.
We have some questions about those cows. So, does the amount of activity that a cow does throughout the day, does that affect how much milk they produce?
Yeah, a little bit. So when they are walking out to a really far pasture, they're using a little bit more energy. So since they're using that towards their body, they'll produce a little bit less in the barn, but they're able to regulate that for their own health.
Awesome. And then what do you do when a cow gets sick?
When a cow gets sick, they get housed in an individual pen. So that way we can monitor their feed intake or how much they're eating. And we can also give them any treatment that they might need to feel better. And their milk will be dumped down the drain so that way it doesn't go into our food system when there's treatment there. So they'll be milked separately until they're healthy again. And then they'll go back to the herd with the rest of the group.
Okay. And what do you do with the manure that they produce?
Yeah, so we have a flush system at the dairy. So all the alleys get cleaned with a recycled liquid system. So basically a whole bunch of water will get rushed down the alley. They'll clean the poop and then it will get separated. So the solids come off and the liquids come off. We spread all of the liquids out on our pastures for fertilizer. And manure is a great fertilizer. It's kind of a part of the circle of life. So the poop goes on the grass and that helps the grass grow. And then the cows eat the grass. So it's really important for the environment, and the liquids get applied to our field, and then the solids get exported, and you can actually buy it for gardens or whatever you might want to do.
Awesome. And do you have one cow on the dairy that milks the most milk?
Yeah, I would say we have a cow right now that's milking about 100 pounds a day. So much more than the average, which is about 50 pounds. So the average, the 50 pounds is about 6 gallons a day. So she can produce up to 12 gallons.
Awesome. And then how did the cows get to the dairy in the first place? Did you buy some of them or are some of them born there? How did that happen?
Yeah, so we got some cows donated back in 2013. And so we kind of started building our herd from there. And so they've just been building and building for the past many years. And now we have 120 milking cows. So they're all raised and born on the farm. We do have some crossbreds too. So there's some darker colored ones out there and some black and white ones. And so those are some crossbreds. So that means that they are 2 different breeds of cows. So they can be a Holstein and a Jersey mixed together. And those ones were purchased probably 5 or 6 years ago to compare to the Jerseys.
Okay, and then last question really quick. Why is there a dairy at the university? And do these cows go to classes?
Good question. Yes. So all these cows are used to teach people how to handle cows. So we have student employees working at all times, every day, doing all the day-to-day tasks, and they learn how to take care of the cows, how to milk the cows, how to feed the calves, and just how to handle them in general. We also have lots of classes that come out that will teach reproduction, animal handling, and then we also have the vet school. So the vet school will come out and teach their vet students how to treat and handle dairy cows as well. And then we also do research at the farm as well. All of the research that we do is to benefit the health, welfare, and environment for the dairy industry and for the dairy cows themselves.
Okay. And one more personal question. How did you learn to become a dairy farmer?
Good question. So I did not start out in the dairy industry. I just started doing the FFA in high school, and I did a beef cow. And so that was kind of my first exposure to cow was in high school. And then I came to Oregon State and worked here at the dairy. And then that was my first experience. And then I graduated and went and worked for a commercial dairy for a year or 2. And I came back here as the herdsman. And now I've been the manager for about 3 years now.
Okay, awesome. And then one really quick last one. Are you ever worried about predators getting into the field?
That's a good question. So our cows are pretty big and they're a pretty big herd. So the predators are pretty afraid of that big of a group. We don't have any predator issues in this area. We also happen to be a little bit closer to city limits, so there's not as many predators in this area either.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Alrighty, is there any other questions?
It looks like a few more just popped in. Do you have a favorite cow or a favorite breed of cow?
That's a good question. Yeah, I would say my favorite breed of cow is a Jersey. So that's fitting for me to be a part of this herd. But I think my favorite cow on the herd, her name is Candy. And she's super sweet and lets you love all over her. And she just wants to get pets and kisses every day. So they're just really friendly. Every cow has their own personality, and you get to know all the cows working at the dairy and can kind of build relationships with them as well. So that's really special. So Candy, I would say, is my favorite cow, and my second favorite cow is Clementine.
Those names are absolutely adorable. Another question is, how many acres are on the dairy?
Good question. Yeah, so we have about 150 acres total. So about 100 of that is harvested for our grass silage. which by the way, the silage is those big white tubes over there. So if you ever see those big white tubes, or they can also come in little marshmallow shapes, then that's where our grass silage is. So we, what was the question again?
How many acres are on the field?
Oh yeah.
It's
Okay,
not
good.
on the
Yep,
dairy.
so about 100 acres goes into those tubes, into marshmallows, and then the other 50 acres is used for grazing. So the cows do a rotational grazing on the other 50 acres.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Well, it seems like we might be out of time for this afternoon. So thank you, Larissa, for taking time to talk with the students about the Oregon State University Dairy Farm. And thank you to all the students and classrooms for joining us today. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for joining us.
Bye. Thanks, guys.